I am Suheyla Cavdar from Harmony Science Academy, and this is Abraham Lincoln's life. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809 to Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Haynes in a one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. In 1816, the Lincoln family left Kentucky to avoid the expense of fighting for one of their property in court, and made a new start in Perry County, Indiana. When Lincoln was 9, his 34-year-old mother died of milk sickness. Soon afterwards, his father married to Sarah Johnston. In 1830, fearing a milk sickness outbreak, the family settled on public land in Macon County, Illinois. The next year, when his father moved the family to Close County, Illinois, 22-year-old Lincoln struck out on his own, canoeing down a river to Sangamon County. In 1842, Lincoln got married to Mary Todd in Springfield. Lincoln soon started a family with the birth of son Robert Lincoln in Springfield, Illinois, on August 1, 1843. He was Lincoln's only child to reach adulthood. He passed away on December 24, 1885. Lincoln's second son, Edward Baker Lincoln, was born on March 10, 1846, also in Springfield. Edward died on February 1, 1850, when he was only 3. A few months later, William Lincoln was born on December 21, 1850, but he also died at the age of 11 on February 20, 1862. The Lincoln's fourth son, Thomas Lincoln, was born on April 4, 1853, and only lived till he was 18. He died on July 16, 1871. Lincoln began his political career in March 1832 at age 23 when he announced his entry for the Illinois General Assembly, but he was not elected. Before the election, he served as a captain in a company of the Illinois militia during the Black Hawk War. In 1834, he won an election to the state legislature. He then decided to become a lawyer and began teaching himself law by reading Commentaries on the Law of England. In 1837, after being admitted to the bar, he moved to Springfield, Illinois, and began to practice law with John T. Stuart. Lincoln served 4 successive terms in the Illinois House of Representatives as a Whig. In 1846, Lincoln was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he served a 2-year term. Lincoln's most notable criminal trial came in 1858 when he defended William Armstrong. In 1854, Lincoln decided to run for the U.S. Senate as a Whig, but later switched to Republican due to the Whig Party splitting up during the Kansas-Nebraska Act. Meanwhile, Stephen A. Douglas ran for the same spot. In 1858, the Lincoln-Douglas debates, the most famous political debate in American history, started. Lincoln warned that the slave power was threatening the values of republicanism, while Douglas said the local settlers should be free to choose whether to allow slavery or not. As a result, legislators re-elected Douglas to the Senate. On May 9, 1816, the Illinois Republican State Convention was held in Decatur, where Lincoln first decided to run for president. On May 18, at the 1816 Republican National Convention in Chicago, Lincoln won the nomination, beating people such as William Seward and Solomon Chase. On November 6, 1860, Lincoln was elected as the 16th President of the United States, beating Democrat Douglas, John Breckinridge, and John Bell. He was the first Republican president when entirely on the strength of his support in the North. Lincoln received 1,866,452 votes. Douglas 1,376,956 votes. Breckinridge 849,781 votes, and Bell 588,789 votes. After Lincoln became president, some states left the Union. On December 1860, South Carolina took the lead, and then followed by Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. They declared themselves the Confederate States of America. After the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter on April 1861, Arkansas, Tennessee, and North Carolina declared their succession, and the capital was moved from Montgomery to Richmond. The Confederate States of America selected Jefferson Davis on February 9, 1861 as their president. On April 12, 1861, Union troops at Fort Sumter were fired upon and forced to surrender. On April 15, Lincoln sent 75,000 troops to recapture forts, protect the capital, and preserve the Union. On April 19, angry Confederate mobs in Baltimore attacked Union troops traveling to the capital. The mayor of Baltimore, other suspect Maryland politicians, and over 18,000 rebel leaders were arrested and imprisoned at Fort McHenry. The Civil War was a source of constant frustration for the president and occupied nearly all of his time. Despite his inexperience in military affairs, Lincoln immediately took an active part of determining war strategy. He had 2 concerns: to to ensure that Washington was well defended not to conduct an aggressive war effort that would satisfy the demand in the North for victory. Here are some important battles during the Civil War. Battle of Fort Donelson on February 1862, won by the Union. Battle of Shiloh on April 1862, won by the Union. Second Battle of Bull Run on August 1862, won by the Confederacy. Battle of Stone's River on December 1862, won by the Union. Battles of Chancellorsville on May 1863, won by the Confederacy. Battle of Gettysburg on July 1863, won by the Union. Battle of Chickamauga on September 1863, won by the Confederacy. The Emancipation Proclamation, announced on September 22, 1862, and put into effect on January 1, 1863, freed slaves in territories not already under Union control. The Gettysburg Address is one of the most quoted speeches in U.S. history. It was delivered at the dedication of Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, on the afternoon of November 19, 1863, during the Civil War. In the presidential election of 1864, Lincoln was re-elected as president during the Civil War against Democrat McClellan. On March 4, 1865, Lincoln delivered his second inaugural address, his favorite of all his speeches. At this time, a victory over the rebels was at hand. Slavery was dead, and Lincoln was looking to the future. Reconstruction began during the war as Lincoln pondered questions of how to rejoin the Southern states and what to do with Confederate leaders and the freed slaves. He was determined to find a course that would reunite the nation, not alienate the South. At the end, he was successful. The war was over. April 14, 1865, Lincoln attended a play where he got assassinated by John Booth, who was a well-known actor and Confederate spy from Maryland. Booth originally planned to kidnap Lincoln in exchange for the release of Confederate prisoners, but after Lincoln promoted voting rights for blacks, Booth changed his plan. Booth crept up behind the president and waited for what he thought would be the funniest line of the play, hoping the laughter would muffle the noise of the gunshot. When the laughter started, Booth shot Lincoln, then jumped off the balcony, breaking a leg and escaping. He was eventually caught in a Virginia barn house and shot. The president laid in a coma for 9 hours before dying on April 15, 1865. He was the first president to be assassinated. Lincoln's body was carried by train back to Illinois. The Lincoln Tomb is in Oak Ridge Cemetery in Springfield. Repeated polls of historians have ranked Lincoln as among the greatest presidents in U.S. history, with Lincoln usually in the top 3 along with George Washington and Franklin Roosevelt. Many American organizations of all purposes and agendas continue to cite his name and image. Lincoln's name has appeared in numerous places. These include the Lincoln Memorial, the U.S. Lincoln $5 bill, Lincoln Cent, and Mount Rushmore.